Welcome to Cool Guns. I'm going to make some 223 ammo in order to shoot with this suppressor, which is made for pistols. It is the FN9 TI suppressor, and it is only made for pressures up to 39,000 psi, which is for kind of like the 9mm pressures. However, the threading on this suppressor is 1/2 by 28, and the threading on my new barrel of my AR-15 I built is also 1/2 by 28. And on Hodgdon.com they have a 223 load data for Subsonic 223 Remington ammo using 3.1 grains of tight group, and that comes out to be only 4,000 psi. But now what I'd like to do is see how much tight group I can put in the 223 in order to get up to around the same pressures that a 9mm would produce, roughly 39,000 psi. So if 3.1 grains of tight group only creates 4,000 psi, I have a lot of room to go. However, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be linear with the amount of tight group powder to the pressure that it creates. And right now I have this new Silencer Co. ASR muzzle brake for when I'm shooting normal 223 and 5.56 ammo. This barrel has a wild headspace, which allows for 5.56 and 223 ammo to be shot through it. Like I said, this is my new barrel, much lighter. My original barrel I bought for this AR was a very heavy, very large diameter wild barrel, and I decided to have a second barrel that would be lighter, just to compare, and to more, instead of shooting targets, actually be able to carry it easier. So I'll video this process and we'll see how it goes on the range. Okay, so next experiment is 3.5 grains of tight group. We'll see how much more powerful this is. This should be supersonic, so we'll see what it does with the action. It still doesn't cycle the action. I decided to buy some new brass for this experiment. So it comes unprimed. So I'm going to have to prime it before I put the powder and the bullet in. And I'm going to make probably 10 with this same low data of 3.1 grains of Hodgdon's tight group. This powder is made for pistols, but for some reason they figured out with their experts that they could create a good subsonic 223 Remington bullet with it. I will be using CCI number 41 primers. They're made for 5.56 ammunition. Just means they're a little bit stronger than if you had other small rifle primers. So I put the primers in here. Make sure I have all of my stuff together. This is how I'll put them in. The primer's down in there. You can see the primer comes up through the hole. Put the case on there. Squeeze the handle. And it inserts the primer. And to test if the primer is in there far enough, put it on a flat surface. If it doesn't sit there and wobble with the primer out a little bit too far, then it's in there far enough. So that's one. And I'm going to be installing these Hornady VMAX 50 grain bullets. These have a little plastic tip for aerodynamics. They actually have an ogive on the back, or a taper on the back. The ogive is up here. Okay, so I loaded up all these cartridges with primers, and now we just have to move on to measuring out the grains of powder and putting the bullet on. I'll have to make sure that I seat the bullet to the right depth, but I'm pretty sure my seater is at the right one. So I used the CCI number 41 primers made for 5.56 and new cartridges. I'll be loading up with 50 grain VMAX bullets from Hornady. And with this test, I need to make sure that I'm a lot more accurate with the powder. So I'm going to use this gem scale that I found at a lot cheaper price than a bullet scale or powder scale. So just turn it on, it'll tear. I put some powder in here, weigh it, and then pour it in the cartridge. Okay, I made my first bullet, and it's very important to check the dimensions and make sure that they match and meet with the requirements. So I've been using the Spear Reloading Manual number 14 for quite a while. if you look at the 223 Remington, the max cartridge overall length is 2.26 inches. So let's make sure that I don't have to make any more adjustments with my settings. I'm at 2.272. So I'm going to have to make a few more adjustments on the press. Let's check it again. Now we're at 2.53. So now we meet the specs, so I can keep my press at that setting, and I'm not looking for extreme accuracy right now, so I'm not trying to meet a specific length, just as long as it meets the specifications in the manual. And then, because I'm more testing these bullets based on pressure, so I'll finish making them and then I'll move on to the next load. I have made my two first loads, my original and the one specified by Hodgdon. 3.1 grain with tight group, and it's very important that you label your bullets and you don't get them confused. So my next load is going to be 3.5 grains of Hodgdon tight group, and I'm going to move on to 4 grains. Okay, I just finished my next set. This is 4 grains of tight group with a 50 grain bullet, and it's a 223 Remington. So next I'm going to move on to still not enough, making more normal bullets with 223. Since I haven't shot those grain amounts of tight group in the 223 before, I'm not going to move up too fast, just in case. I know I have a lot more room, but you never know. So especially with tight group, it is a lot faster burning powder, and the pressures move up faster. So with a normal 223, this CFE 223 is a very good powder, and Hodgdon has it reloading data on it, their website that you can look up, and the lowest that they recommend is 27 grains, but that is to get 3,000 feet per second and normal pressures of a 223. And I'm really only trying to find a 223 load that's will cycle the AR but not be too high pressure and be a lot less velocity, so that the suppressor can reduce the sound signature a lot more. So I am going to start off with 20 grains of CFE 223 and then move up 2 grains at a time. I'll do that for a couple loads, and then I'll go shoot all this and decide where to go from there. Okay, I finished my next 3 loads. This will be it before I head out to the range and shoot them. This is 18 grains of CFE 223. This is 20 grains of CFE 223, and this is 22 grains of CFE 223. So that'll be it for the test loads. Now I'll just make normal loads for testing out this brake. Nice shot. How was that?
That was crazy. My whole body shook.
All of these loads that I've made special is for testing out shooting my AR with the FN Rush 9 Ti suppressor. And I know it worked well with the Subsonic 223 ammo since I've done it before and I have a previous video of it. But the problem is it didn't cycle the action. And so now I want to try to figure out with these loads the minimum powder required in order to cycle the action, but also have a low signature and have the suppressor have it a very low sound signature, so that'll be fun to shoot. Okay, welcome to Cool Guns. I'm shooting 3.1 grains of Hodgson tight group powder in these 223 rounds, and this is subsonic according to Hodgson's website. And then I'm going to do some more grains and try to figure it out because these don't cycle the action enough. Here, watch. Take it off, see? So as you can see, with 3.1 grains, it won't cycle. Okay, so next experiment is 3.5 grains of tight group. We'll see how much more powerful this is. This should be supersonic, so we'll see what it does with the action. It still doesn't cycle the action. So that was 3.5 grains and still not enough power to cycle the action. It's still pretty quiet though. Okay, this next set of bullets is 4 grains of tight group, and we'll see if that is enough to cycle the action. I don't think it's going to be, but we'll test it out. Still not enough. Okay, so this set is a new powder. I'm using to see where it goes with cycling, but having not enough pressure to ruin the suppressor. Since this is a Rush 9 Ti suppressor from FN, and it's made for pistols. This 223 round has 18 grains of CFE 223 powder from Hodgdon. At 27 grains, according to their reload data, has 41,000 or so PSI. So this should be okay for this suppressor, and we'll see if it's will cycle the action. I think it will, but I'll have to start going lower to barely cycle the action, but also have less sound signature. So that definitely cycled the action, and that was 18 grains of CFE 223. And it looks like we should be okay on the suppressor. Doesn't look like we have any issues. I'll have to open it up later when we get home and verify that.